teeth like I'm toothless. I noticed that one of my most popular videos is how to delete Final Cut Pro library, events, and projects. When I made this video, I didn't do a great job explaining all of the components of file storage. In this video, I hope to clear some of those up. Additionally, I will show you how to manage your files and save space because the file structuring system in Final Cut and on Macs is very confusing. For this example, I've created a new folder here that says New Project Example. In it, I have an example video folder and photos. This is video that I shot yesterday. There's no photos in this folder, just an example. If you don't know how to create a folder, you hit Control-click, New Folder, and then you can name it just like that. You want to create a space for your library, event, and project to live before you start a new project. This is what I've done here. Next, I'm going to launch Final Cut Pro X. As you can see, there is already a project here that I was working on in Final Cut. We're going to ignore this and start a new library. To do this, you're going to go to the very top, click File, New, Library. In this step, you will have the opportunity to name your library and pick where it lives on your computer. I will name mine Example Library. And I will select the New Project Example folder on my desktop. Click Save. The next step is going to be to make a new project within this library. To do this, go File, New, Project. I'm going to name this New Project Example. Make sure that the video format matches whatever type of video you are creating, and hit OK. Now that you have your library and project set up, you're ready to import your data. To import your data, hit the small arrow in the top left-hand corner of Final Cut Pro X. Remember, at the beginning, I put all of my data and assets into the New Project Example folder found on my desktop. Here I'll click that. Here I will click on Example Video and Command-click on Photos to import both of them. When you're importing files, you have the opportunity to copy these files to your library or leave your files in place. This step will determine how smooth your editing process is and how big your Final Cut Pro library becomes. It is very important to know the effects of what happens when you hit Copy to Library or leave files in place. For this, I am choosing to copy to library, and I will show you why. Then select Import Selected. Now in the top left, you can see my example library that I started. Within this, I have a Smart Collection and here an event containing Example Video, the folder that I just imported. Now I will start working on my project. Now you can see in the top left-hand corner here that Final Cut was beginning to render my project. As you begin working on your project, Final Cut Pro X stores the data of your working project. So, for example, the more clips that you add to your project, Final Cut has to render these. As you can see, it starts rendering it in the top left, and that adds to the size of your library. Now, for instance, I'm going to pretend that I've been working on this for a day and I've made some edits. Here are my friends. Now, for the rest of this example, I'm going to exit out of Final Cut Pro X and show you what has happened to the file structure. I'm going to exit out. After exiting out, if I click on the New Project Example folder, you can see I have my example library, photos, and example video. However, these are not all of the files that are associated with the project that you just started. This is the biggest issue that I have when using Final Cut, and I don't know how to get around it. If you go up to the Apple icon in the top left-hand corner and hit About This Mac, Storage, Manage Macintosh HD, you'll get this window to pop up. If you click on Documents and File Browser, your Mac will display a list of files that are contained within your personal profile. It is my understanding that these files are created by Mac and there is nothing you can do to reorganize or move them, but you can be aware of what happens when you use Final Cut and where things go. If you click on the Movies folder, what you'll find is a Final Cut Backups folder, a TV folder, and a Motion Templates folder. Final Cut will automatically generate backups for a project that you're working on, depending on how often you have them set up for. These do take up space. As you can see here, the I Quit My Job project contains 6 different Final Cut Pro X backups. This is a project I uploaded just the other day. It is my understanding that there's no way to move where the Final Cut Pro X backups go. Additionally, if you forget when you start a project to select a location for your example library, it will end up right here. When you are completely finished with your project, as I am now with the I Quit My Job project, What I will do is I'll go into this original folder, which is supposed to mimic the new project example folder, and I can delete the big library that is associated with this project. Now, the original library with all of the rendered content is approximately 50 gigabytes. But if I go into my Final Cut Pro backups and I select the top one, it is only 6.1 megabytes. When you go to save deleted projects, what you can do is delete the big library and throw it in the trash and save the small library. And to do this, you can right click and hit Show in Finder. So here I find the smaller version of the library, 6.1 megabytes, and I can simply move it into my project folder of I Quit My Job. Then what I would do is I would move this folder here to my hard disk, and I would have all of the assets and the library in order to open that project again if I ever needed to. As you work on a Final Cut Pro X project, your library will increase in size because your library is containing the project itself. So as your timeline goes from being a minute to 2 minutes to 15 minutes, that project library file becomes bigger and bigger and bigger because it's referencing files and including them in the timeline. But in the very end, you don't need all of the rendered data, you just need to know exactly where the files go, which is why the difference in the file sizes at the end are 50 gigabytes or just a few megabytes. And then at the end, after you've saved your entire library and your project, you can go ahead and delete these Final Cut Pro X backups. The main reason I have issues with Final Cut Pro X and Mac in general is this file system itself. I don't know how to move my Final Cut backups into my project folder, which is where I believe they should live, but this is just how it happens. Additionally, for the longest time, I had no idea where my libraries were going when they were created, and they were in this section here, in your movies section. And again, to get there, what you do is you hit the little apple about this Mac, you go to storage on your Macintosh HD, you hit manage, and then it will open up documents, and you click on movies, and it will end up right here. I hope this video made sense. Thank you for watching.